Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone who can hear the sound of my voice to this week's edition of the Petty and Ill-Informed podcast, where we venture our petty and ill-informed opinion across a variation of topics. Joining me, as always, Tom. Tom, how are you?
Yeah, glad I can make it. Managed to tear myself away from Eurovision to be here.
You want to know something embarrassing? I actually liked England's song this year.
I thought it was all right, but nothing truly special. It's not bad. Like I like the message. I like the bold, sort of confrontational, topic and the theme of it.
Yep, I was surprised.
And yeah, I like it. I think it's got a lot more substance and weight than you'd normally expect in your stereotypical Eurovision song.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
well, I was surprised that I liked it. So,
as I was listening to them, I liked Belgium's one as well. There was a really, really nice Depeche Mode-esque synthesizer on the go, and that really worked for me. Never mind the singing, but I like dig the synth.
Never going to beat Norway's song from a couple of years ago.
Pardon? What about Norway's song?
From a couple of years ago, the last Eurovision. You're never going to beat your Norway's song. Kevin's here.
Kevin, better late than never.
For flip's sake.
You all right, mate?
I can't hear you.
Well, we can just about hear you.
Yep. Anyway, Norway's song from a couple of years ago, Give the Wolf a Banana. You're never going to beat that for Eurovision songs.
Give the Wolf a Banana.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of all-time fave. I'll need to go and play that after the show. And the other one is, so I was toying for a moment of the idea in my head of asking you to find it and stream it, and we all could get down to it. It would probably be a lot better than most of what we've heard this year. But we might do that. We might do that in the future, as we've been talking about. Do a YouTube week where we share our favorite YouTube videos and stuff. So that could be in the cards. I'd like to put that out there. Right. Oh God, my bloody cat is just interfering with everything tonight and just won't leave me alone. Cat, bye-bye.
Hello?
Hey, Kevin.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can now. I can now.
I wondered who had activated my cam, but that was the bloody cat herself. Stood on it and started it.
Man, you just can't trust cats.
No.
They are untrustworthy.
So you food in a box.
Have you had a good week, Kevin?
Yeah, it was all right. How about yourself?
Yeah. I'm all right.
You didn't tell me that you broke your legs last week. That's for sure, did you? You wee bastard.
I'm fine. They're all healing nicely.
Are they?
Yep.
Because 2 broken legs, mate, it's not the best. Who'd you piss off?
It was incredibly painful, but it's over now.
No, I'm not. See, in Northern Ireland, you can always tell who a tart is because they always have a limp.
Yeah, I get that. No, I just I fell down the stairs.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I listened to last week's show. Yeah,
that was a good show. Tom doesn't seem as enthusiastic about this week's topic, so we'll see.
What is it again?
The Mandela effect.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that I'm not enthusiastic. It's that I wasn't sure what it was. I messaged you earlier in the day for a reminder. You meanly and cruelly chose not to reply. And so I was left to ponder what it might be. And for some reason, I got the idea in my head that we would be sharing some of our favorite YouTube videos. So I've got about 6 of those queued up in different tabs on Chrome. And It's only at the last minute did I realise it's about something which I knew almost nothing about.
Yeah.
Ironically, remembering the wrong thing is exactly what the Mandela effect is.
Well, look up the word irony in a dictionary and you'll find a mugshot of me looking like I've got an IQ of about -4.
Favorite YouTube videos? What you mean, like just videos that pop up?
Well, anything really.
Anything?
Yeah,
Just thinking
I've got about 6 lined up at the moment, but we'll maybe do that in the future. At least if I bookmark them all, at least I haven't got to look them up again.
Yeah, there is that. Personally, I watch like long-winded documentaries on YouTube. So
Yeah, me too. I
Don't-
my subscriptions are always like, what was that one that's really, really good? I'm trying to think of it.
Well, you've got at least a week to remember something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, it's channels. It's like past civilizations or ancient civilizations. And he talks about how they all fell, and it's really good.
Well, I don't want to give away spoilers for mine just yet, so I'll save them for now.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're all waiting with bated breath.
we're really not, Tom. So, what did you get up to this week?
Well,
I caught all the way up on EastEnders, that's for sure.
It's been a bit meh lately.
Yeah, it's not been great.
Brilliant.
There you go. That's for when that's whenever we have to ask you about how your week went. I don't know. Do you think it was the Panasaurs that screwed up the business?
No, I think it was Sharon.
Why would Sharon do that though? She did get fucked over royally, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't care if the Panasaurs get screwed over, but Linda screwing over Sharon was not cool.
No.
can't
And
believe
then
guys.
what's up with the drunken mum coming in?
Yeah, like I thought they were queuing up Shirley coming back or something, and I was just let down by that reveal.
Well, you guys, honestly, you're asked how invited to talk about your week and what things you've been up to, and the best you can do is recount what's happened in EastEnders. God,
Dude, EastEnders is my life. All right,
Mate, I've had such a bad week, to be honest with you. I mean, if I was going to go into it, I would take up the whole friggin' hour. And I don't think it was just one bad thing after another. So I'm going to just be mainly silent. The only thing I would say is that, I wish I was on last week's pissed off show, because people who pissed me off would be anybody who reported on King Charles freaking coronation.
oh, don't even get me started. What an absolute bloody monument to that man's ego that entire thing was. We're in the middle of a cost of living crisis. What the hell was that even about? Oh, there's just been millions on this.
Well, no, I don't care about that, mate. I think, in the end run, I mean, 1953, were they that far out of still queuing for like rations and stuff?
Yeah,
I don't think they were. But the thing about it is that, it was just the sycophantic thing where everybody was like, oh, look at this. And one guy freaking started crying. You know what I mean? One journalist started crying. I'm just like, oh, fuck. You know what I mean? That's just way too much, in my opinion. To be overcome by emotion by that is just, I mean, I get it, sort of, but I don't get it. Especially since they always talk like, and I'm just saying this as a person from the United Kingdom, but not from England. They just talk about England all the friggin' time. They don't talk about any other thing. That's all there is just England. He's the king of England, blah, blah, blah. He's actually the king of a lot more people than that, Even Canada is still the head of the country. Still on the money. So
But the Queen was on Australia's money. I don't think they're going to put Charlie on any of their money, though.
I don't think so either. But you know, it does get tedious whenever it's just like, oh, you know, he's a Scottish king as well. I mean, I can understand why you don't talk about Wales that much. I mean, because he would. But
Is it even a country? I mean, really?
wow, that's debatable, isn't it? I mean, really, isn't it sort of debatable?
It's like saying Cornwall's a country. The accents are silly and the scenery's nice, but you know, it's not a separate country.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get too much into it, but at the same point in time, it's just like, you know, there are other places in the United Kingdom other than England. Believe me, that probably want to be part of the United Kingdom more than people in England. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Northern Ireland's always weird like that. I was trying to explain to Sam the other day, you know, how in the before the First World War, they were, you know, the Unionists in Northern Ireland were willing to fight the British Army to stay British. And that's I've never heard of anything like that. You know what I mean?
That's a unique form of stubbornness.
Yes. Yes, it was. Well, it was just because they just did not want to be part of the Free State. Right or wrong? Right or wrong?
They were willing to fight the British Army to stay British.
Yeah, they basically formed the UVF, which was the Ulster Volunteer Force. And at that point in time, no, I'm not talking about the terrorist one, you know, that is now. But they basically had an army of 100,000 people that were armed. They bought arms from Germany, snuck it in. They had different regimental things, had a headquarters company. I mean, it was all ex-British soldiers, a lot of them. And, you know, like I said, they were, you know, if the army had come in to try to enforce 32 county Ireland, that they were willing to fight that. And so they thought, okay, well, they would be damaged so badly that they wouldn't want to do it. So then whenever First World War swung around, they basically incorporated all those different parts of the Unionist Army into 36 Ulster Division, and actually a lot of the nationalists into the 16th Irish Division, and a lot of those, because of the promises, they said, okay, well, if you fight for us, we'll say we won't turn Northern Ireland over to the Free State. And and they told the Republicans, if you fight for us, then we will do something about self-rule. So there you go. And then those two there's two divisions fought at the Battle of Somme, and basically everybody got killed. Problem solved. So anyway,
Wash our hands of that one. Job well done, lads.
Well, the sad part about it is that, you know, from that standpoint, the Unionists go on and on and on about it. You know what I mean? But the Republicans never do, even though, you know, it was a big loss of life for those folks on a promise. So what you going to do when they come for you?
What you gonna do?
So
Wow.
that's a little bit of history there, and they don't really talk about it ever, but, you know.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Lord Carson was, you know, when they signed the Ulster Covenant, which was, you know, the covenant said that they would never become Republican. The Somme Association that I worked for at one point in time had you know, they owned Craigavon House, which is where they signed it. And that big desk that they had with the Union Jack on it is still there. Still have it in there. Nobody goes into that room. You know what I mean? It's just weird.
Yeah.
Very odd. But that's life, isn't it? Extremely odd.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. There's always weird things like that happen. I mean, that comes down to, what we're going to talk about as a topic today. I think
Well,
how people remember things.
just quickly, if I'll say a little bit about my week. School has been cool. I've been actually had a really, really good laugh with my team for possibly the first time. Well, we've laughed consistently throughout the week and been able to have a good joke together. And when that's happening, I think that shows that I must be doing something right, put it that way. So that's cool. I had oh God. If any of our listeners are parents, they may know how annoying this experience is. If you're not, if you don't have kids, it's another reason to be grateful you didn't. It's we've I don't mean that. I love this really, but we've been given for the third time recently. We've been given the class toy to take home, and it's a lovely thing. It's great to do with. With Reese. It's just a pain having to remember it all the time because go out to the shops. Oh damn, forgot the ruddy fox because you take home the class mascot, and just the problem is with me and my memory. It's such a pain to forget the bloody thing, but I managed to remember to take it out today and for a walk, and then you have to remember to take pictures. So it is within the line of remembering things. Actually, you have to remember to take pictures. Have to remember to do all kinds of daft things with it, like pretend to have a drink of water. We've had it pretend to look through the binoculars in the hide where we went for a walk today. Richard, I've taken some pictures for you. And then you have to remember when we go to have a curry afterwards with my mum and dad, to feed the little fox a bit of poppadom and take a picture of that. And then I don't begrudge it at all. It's just a pain to have to keep remembering because it's hard enough to keep track of where my son Reese is going and where he's running off to as it is, let alone having to remember to have a fox chase him and take pictures of this little cuddly fox all the time. So no, I'm mucking about entirely. I love this thing. I'm just the meanness of me makes it a more tiresome experience than it should be.
Yeah, well, it's tough. It's tough, It's tough whenever you've got something like that comes up, and you just give it all your all. It reminds me of Ian Beale. Richard reminds me of Ian Beale, and
how so?
Because he had nothing left.
No.
That was a classic moment in EastEnders right there, buddy.
When did was he groveling to Phil?
Yeah, I think so. He was crying.
No, that was when the bankruptcy went through. Oh no, he might have been groveling to Phil.
Well, remember that scene where they're both gurning? I mean, sorry, that was a Northern Irish word. Crying. They're Phil and Ian. It was that was a good moment. They don't have good moments like that anymore. They don't. Like you said, whenever we were in pre-show, it's kind of a lackluster week this week. Even though
they had Roxy come back and do a scene, and I was like, well, at least now that means that her last ever scene in EastEnders wasn't her death sequence, which years of therapy still has not expunged from my brain. Until Danny Dyer jumped off the cliffs of Dover, that was literally Roddy and Roxy's death was literally the most ludicrous moment in EastEnders for me.
Yes, although they did get the death certificate this week, the death certificate. And what I don't understand about that is there's no body, right? So he is, technically probably got amnesia somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, they've left it open in case he wants to come back, but
yeah. And
he's doing game shows on Channel 4 now, so Jesus, Danny, go back to EastEnders. Have some dignity.
Well, remember how he got famous? Danny Dyer was like the football.
He was a movie star.
Well, but then he started going to all these different football matches. I'm going to see Rangers versus Celtics. One of the scariest places you could be. I'm going to be in the Rangers end. you know.
with my cameras and heavy security, so nothing bad's actually going to happen to me.
Yeah, I'm snuck in. I got ticket. I'm snuck in. I'm going to get snuck in, and then I'm going to get stuck in. Although he never does. You know?
No.
Well, you guys trying to remember exactly when Ian Beale said that groveling thing certainly does lead neatly into today's topic.
One last thing about Danny Dyer. I was replaying Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and he's only got a voice line. He plays a character in that, and I never knew that.
Oh,
Must have
right.
been one of the first things he did with his career. So I recognised his voice right away. And I was like, "Holy crap!"
That was before the Football Factory.
Yeah, Vice City. Damn, that was when I was a kid, before I was even a teenager.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of when that film came out, Football Factory. But that was the thing that made him look like a real sort of hard man in it. And
It's a really shit movie as well. I'm just gonna say that
Yeah,
unpopular take.
it's still better than Green Street Hooligans. Sorry, man.
Yeah, right, fair enough. I'll give
That
you
was
that.
that was the shittest movie about football hooligans I've ever friggin' seen. It's
What
terrible.
was?
Green Street Hooligans? I mean, just look it up. It's an American guy who goes and lives with his sister in London, and that her husband is the head of a, firm, and they end up, obviously they're Green Street was what? They're Hammers fans, something like that. West Ham, and so they get into these escalating fights with this other group. It ends up that somebody goes to the other side, tells him where he lives and all this stuff, sets up this big thing, and next thing you know, like the brother-in-law gets killed. And I can't. Who is it? It was the guy who played like Frodo.
Elijah Wood, yeah.
Yeah, it was the main person, and he weighs about 98 pounds. I don't necessarily think that's the type of slim, thin, slight body that you'd want to come up against.
I think the best one of the only films I know about football hooliganism is ID, which I think was made in the mid-90s, set in East London. It's a really, really good classic British sort of gritty Channel 4 type film.
Yeah.
Film 4 kind of thing. It's really, really good. It's about four police officers that go undercover to try and get to the heart of this football hooligan gang, and basically one of them becomes a football hooligan. That's the story. It is told so well. It's so believable. It's really it's got some great performances, some great set pieces. It's a really, really good film, and I love it. It's called ID.
Yeah, I should check that out. One of the things I always find interesting is that the Football Factory, they support Chelsea. That's right. And in the Green Street Hooligans, they support West Ham. But obviously West Ham is always sort of looked at as a hooligan place in competition with Millwall. I don't know if you mean the way that they make Millwall signed, I would never want to go see a match at Millwall. But anyway,
my dad's a diehard Millwall supporter.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he ever get in any fights back in the day? Where I remember whenever I started watching football, that the Chelsea, they had a big pit around the Chelsea thing, and they had an electric fence. They had an electric fence so people couldn't go onto the pitch. I mean, that's how bad it was back then. They still didn't have seats. Everybody was standing on the terrace. Still a lot of places that are still like that. But in the EPL, you can't do that anymore. You can't have a terrace like that where you get pushed into the pushed into the thing. I suppose that was because of several disasters at football grounds. Anyway, but yeah, I love that. I love that. I love my West Ham. Come on the Gooners
It's
from
Arsenal.
IT. Right. Yeah, I know. But he does say that in the one where he tries to talk like a real man. Problem with Arsenal is they always try to
walk it off. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good episode of the IT. I love that episode of the IT cried, And then he gets talked into being like the getaway driver. It's funny.
Good shit. Good episode. So the Mandela effect.
Take it away, Richard.
Tom doesn't know what it is, but basically, it's the weird phenomenon of huge groups of people misremembering things. What it's named after is that a large amount of people believe that Nelson Mandela died in prison. But the most famous example of it is Tom. What does the Wicked Witch say to the mirror in Snow White?
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
She actually says magic mirror on the wall.
Oh, yes. I read an article about this on BBC News not that long ago, and that was cited as an example. You are right.
It's the most famous example. Another good example is in Casablanca. Everyone remembers him saying, "Play it again, Sam," but he never says it in the movie.
Ah.
Yeah, but I think that what happens is that a lot of people, take that popular reference and then change it to their thing, and then, maybe I think a lot of people who remember "Play It Again, Sam" or that verbiage have never actually seen Casablanca. You know what I mean? It's a funny thing where you just sort of take people's reference for it, and then because they make fun of it or something like that, then that's it. What I find is interesting for me, Tom and Richard, is things like book titles that people remember incorrectly. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about the Bernstein Bears versus the Bernstein Bears. You know what I mean? Or the Berenstein Bears. That's one of those ones where people, they're convinced that whenever they were children, that it was, one way and now it's another way. And that's kind of a funny thing where, or cereal boxes that supposedly they changed the name or the spelling or whatever of something. And that's the thing that's always in popular culture, where people remember their childhood in a certain way. But I think what's interesting about it is that people have very poor memories of their childhood anyway. You know what I mean? You sort of block out things you don't want to remember, and it's almost like you have a nostalgia filter on your childhood, and you don't want to think about how crap it was at times. Because I looked at it from at times. My childhood wasn't as great as you would think it was. If you look at it from the standpoint of, you do look back on it and you say, oh well, I miss this and I miss that. But I don't miss going into the spar and being searched. I had my childhood. I went through a metal detector. I mean, a lot of times people are like, "Oh, look at these kids! They have to go through a metal detector to go into school." I had to go through a metal detector to go into 7-Eleven. You know what I mean? Because that's the way it was, and still you have nostalgia about that. In a way, because in a certain way,
I miss the Troubles. Those are the best of days.
No, but what I'm saying is I'm saying that from this standpoint is you think you're harder than everybody else because you went through it. You know what I mean? And so that's just one of those things where you look at it and go, well, yeah, that's nothing. You know what I mean? That's just, that's nothing. And so you do become callous to it. You know what I mean? And so that's one of those things where, I think 60% of the people in Northern Ireland or more that are my age are on some kind of antidepressant, you know. But all I'm saying is that from that standpoint, if you don't have that nostalgia filter and you look at it like that, how many children in America are going to be on antidepressants by the time they graduate high school? If they think, okay, somebody's going to come in and shoot me, and nobody's going to do anything about it.
That's the least of the kids' problems. High school shootings is actually the least of the problems. Have you seen TikTok? They've got much bigger problems than bloody high school shootings. It's in fashion to have mental health disorders, so they're all going on TikTok pretending to have mental health disorders, which ironically is actually a mental health disorder. It's Munchausen's, but it's still rather amusing, School shootings the least of their problems.
Well, yeah, I think that's true. Munchausen's disease. If people don't know, it's named after the book Baron Munchausen, and Baron Munchausen, would have these fantasies about all these different things, and so people would basically fantasize that they were ill. And there's another disease called Munchausen's by proxy, where they name, they're convinced that their children have diseases, so they basically come in and insist that their children are always sick when they're not. And so that does, in a lot of ways, compound the situation, because at that point in time, the child in that situation always thinks that they are sick. And so they can't differentiate, between the cognitive dissonance of my mom saying I'm sick and actually feeling well. But
that's what happened to Gypsy Rose Blanchett, and then she murdered her mother. So never ends well.
Well, no, I'm just saying, for that standpoint, TikTok, as far as that goes, is in everybody's head all the time. I mean, if you look at it like that, obviously Facebook is the equivalent to that if you're looking at an older age. You know what I mean? Facebook changed their algorithms now, so actually I'm not being pumped full of political stuff all the time. It's nice because I actually see people's pictures and that now.
I don't know who designs that algorithm, but they've got me down pat. All my targeted ads are busty women in low-cut tops. I'm like, you bastards know how to sell to me.
Well, are they trying to sell you busty women in low-cut tops, or are they trying to...
I wish, but it's usually one of them sponsored content ads, and I click on it, and then it's like, here's how I made this much money in 10 days, and there's not a busty woman in a low-cut top to be seen anywhere.
Yeah. I've noticed that I've noticed that that even though I haven't looked at any sort of pornographic material in a long, long time, that they are trying to like slip in the big busted women. I don't know.
I can't. That's what's interesting. I literally can't look at my at pornography because my ISP, the only one that's available around here, shuts that down. Won't carry it on the network. So I literally can't use the internet to look at porn. So there's no way Facebook could know that busty women in low-cut tops is going to make me click on something unless working it out through the algorithm.
Right.
So they,
So let me ask you a question. If you got a VPN or a virtual private network that ran over that, couldn't you bypass it?
I probably could, but I don't really want to look at porn that badly.
Well, it's like $2 a month, man. I'm just saying.
Kevin, technology's moved on since Playboy and Razzle. I don't need pictures of women or
You've already got them downloaded. Then is what you're saying?
Pornhub? No, Steam's got 1 million porn games, interactive video games.
Oh,
I don't need to watch videos anymore. I can just download a game, a porn game.
Do they have the virtual reality yet?
Yeah, there are virtual reality porn games.
No, it's only a matter of moments before AI went in that bloody direction. I can't say I'm completely shocked.
Well, I mean, I would think that you'd have to be hooked up in multiple places.
I think AI is going to be really disappointed about how easy we are to manipulate. It'll have us like all these cunning plans to take over the planet, and then some point it'll work out it just needs to distract us with a big pair of tits, and it'll rule the planet.
Yeah,
and it's going to be really disappointed.
right. Well, that's my thing. I mean, that if they wanted to stop the Iraq War, all they had to do was like fly the Goodyear blimp over, paint it pink and put a nipple on the front of it.
That'd work. That'd work for us.
Look at the tit.
Look at this huge stonking pair of boobs. You don't want to fight each other now, do you? No, you just
make love, not war.
I'd love to see someone make a movie about that. Like The Matrix and Terminator, only instead of a big war where we get enslaved, they just distract us with tits.
Well, in a way that works. I mean,
it'd work on women as well.
Yeah, do you think so?
A lot of women like tits. So
well, yeah. they do admire a good tit. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, I've met a lot of women that like a big, like I said, but it's not always the big ones, Richard. They just have to be nice. You know what I mean?
They just have to be eye-catching.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, and the ones that are not, the ones that are, hidden away sometimes are forbidden fruit. That's the way I look at it. I don't know.
Anyway, well, Jesus, how did we get to this?
I don't know. It's not. We've come a long way away from the original topic of the Mandela.
Yeah, we're supposed to be talking about the Mandela effect. You see, that's how well it works. We're already distracted from what we were talking about. Anyway,
yes.
Well,
what other examples are through history? I think
historically. Let's see. Oh, there's a very famous painting of Henry VIII eating a turkey leg.
Yeah,
everyone remember that? Everyone got a clear image in their mind of that painting?
No, yeah, I don't.
No, I don't either. But then again, I'm a student of Henry VIII, brother.
You're not a student.
Why?
No, I asked. You're not a student, or you are a student?
No, I am a student of Tudor times.
Anyone that went to school in the United Kingdom is a student of that. Also, that pisses me off. Elizabeth I was the greatest monarch we ever had, and all we ever learned about was Henry VIII. It's proof that humans loved drama even back then, but I digress. But there is a famous painting of him eating a turkey leg. We've all heard about it, Right? We all remember that?
I haven't. I haven't seen that. I think people remember that, and I don't think it's true.
Well, it doesn't exist at all. You're right.
No. But the thing about it is that do conspiracy theories play into this a wee bit? Like the idea, for example, if you look at things where people remember certain events a certain way, but is that not a way of psychological warfare in a way? Because at the time they declared Hitler dead, for example, which I think was April the 30th, or May 1st. Nobody really knows that when they found him, they had very little evidence that he was dead, and very little evidence that he is dead or died at the time, and could have gotten away. But everybody was convinced that they said that was the way it was. The guy who determined that was some kind of lecturer at Cambridge University on history. He wasn't an expert in forensics or anything like that. Just declared that he was dead, and everybody believed it, except for the FBI and Stalin said, "Oh no, he's still alive."
Someone from the chat. I believe Rod Dupree. I believe the Mandela effect is a physical proof of multiple timeline theory. You're actually remembering stuff from a timeline that you're no longer following.
Right. Like that, the idea that you come, the multiverse theory that you come back. So somebody comes back in history, like you can time travel. They come back and change something so that changes the timeline, and then they're stranded in time. You see what I'm saying? So basically, the idea is that you go to an alternate, whenever that thing changes, we go to an alternate timeline. That person is then stuck in our timeline, so they can't ever return back to their time. But you have to have multiple, that idea of everything that could happen has happened. And so, every time you make a choice, your alter ego or whatever splits off, and then that's the choice they made. You made in one choice, and then they spiders out like a root system. So you have an infinite amount of possibilities, and like I said, you've made every perfect choice in your life in one of them. You've made every wrong decision in another one, and then there's you. So
kick the crap out of the Richard that made all the right decisions, that smug bastard.
yeah. But
all right, Gabby, just for the sake of argument, Catherine of Aragon, Anne of Cleves, Anne Boleyn, Jane Seymour, Anne of Cleves, Catherine Howard, Catherine Parr. So, carry on.
What was it? Divorced. What was it?
Divorced, beheaded,
died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. Right. But he would have gotten bored of Jane Seymour eventually. All right. She just got out when the getting was good. I mean, if you call dying getting out. But I suppose that's preferable. Like, what he did to Catherine Howard was just messed up, man. I mean, the girl was 17. She didn't deserve that.
No, but I mean,
they're and quartered for cheating on him or something.
Yeah.
They said that she was having it away, but I think that she wasn't a virgin when she got married, and she was having an affair with somebody, so that wasn't gonna. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Whereas Anne Boleyn brother was tortured into saying that they were having an incestuous relationship, and that's how she'd gotten pregnant. I mean, that's
contrived to say the least.
Right. And so, but the other one was young. By that time, Henry VIII was heavily overweight. He had that abscess on his leg that would not heal. So apparently, he suffered from gout regularly. He had the abscess on his leg from a jousting accident that would not heal. So he smelled like rotten flesh. Now, would you really want to, straddle up on that bad boy and take it for a ride around the park? I don't think so. I just, he was smelly, in a bad mood all the time because he couldn't get this abscess to heal. He was in pain all the time. So he was just a prick.
And he was a dickhead to begin with as well. So,
Right.
What, didn't he have syphilis or something? And that wasn't.
No doubt he had every STI it was possible to get at that point.
Well, no, it wasn't known that he did, but the one that had syphilis and died from it was Al Capone. That he'd contracted syphilis at a very sort of young age from a prostitute. And back then, the only thing that you could try to do to sort of treat syphilis was mercury injections directly up your urethra,
which gave you a whole different host of other problems.
Oh my god, mercury! Are you serious?
A night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury. That's the saying.
Yeah. You can look it up. You can look at
that a saying. Is that really a saying?
That was a saying, yeah. Back then.
Yeah, you can really look up. You can really look up the syringes that they used to use to shoot it up your urethra.
Oh no, that's too much, guys. That's all wrong.
At least
Well,
maggots actually work. That's one of the things they used to use, but the rest of it.
to clean out the infection, yeah, they would you would use maggots, because maggots primarily only eat sort of dead and what do you call that?
Gangrenous flesh.
Flesh that's rotted, died away. I don't.
Ugh.
I mean, normally now they would just cut that out. You know what I mean, and try to get it to heal.
Yeah.
But I mean, the maggots is not an ineffective way. I mean, I think the Vietnamese soldiers were still doing that in the Vietnam War.
Ooh.
Anyway,
So,
Mandela effect. We've been sidetracked again.
well, yeah, no, because we start on a thing, and then it does change. I mean, like the idea of, for example, that people remember battles differently and things like that. I mean, like Winston Churchill, for example, was a big military screw up before World War II, and so but we all remember him as this sort of military genius, but he wasn't. He was in on the planning of Gallipoli. He was the admiral, sea admiral or whatever you call it, and he was terrible. And but when he was prime minister, everybody was like, "Yeah, it was great. He's great." But I mean, I'm glad he didn't plan anything. That's that idea of that. And I mean, does it count whenever you use propaganda to change things? Because obviously Hitler's life when he was a child was not the way he portrayed it.
I'm interested. Do you think he was alive when they found him?
Hitler?
Yeah.
I think he got away, mate. I really do think he got away, because they had multiple ways of escape. There was a very famous female pilot that landed on the river that went through Berlin, and she had gone in there like a few days before, and I think he was out of the bunker before they even said that he died, committed suicide. I think that they actually threw those two lookalikes in there, and tried to get away with it. But again, shooting yourself in the forehead is extremely hard to do, unless you
I think that he died then, but I think he was alive when they found him.
Could
I
be.
think he surrendered and they shot him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at the time, well, he was very afraid that he would end up like Mussolini and his mistress, who had gotten captured in Italy and then taken to Milan, and I think
hung by piano wire.
Hung by the piano wire, yeah, upside down, and basically their bodies were exposed, naked.
Who cannot imagine? Piano wire is just the nastiest stuff. I mean, that would be the most abysmal way to go. Oh my god!
Yeah. So,
another example of the Mandela effect, a really good one, in a desperate attempt to get us to stay on topic, is that the Monopoly guy does not have a monocle.
Yes, because Mr. Peanut has a monocle. So people remember that rich thing as a certain archetype. That's what I'm. That's why I think. That's why I think people think that the Monopoly guy has a monocle. I mean, I don't know. You guys don't have Mr. Peanut over there, do you? Mr. Peanuts.
Yeah.
He's like a peanut with a top hat, and he wears a monocle, and all that stuff. So I think people, but wearing a monocle, isn't that mainly sort of a British thing? I mean, I don't know how many people in America wore a monocle. You could imagine lots of people in sort of number one dress at a party that's the colonel or something above that wearing a monocle. But I can't remember. I can't think of too many Americans wearing a monocle in history.
All right, you knew that one. But here's one that's going to break you.
Yes.
The dude in Tiananmen Square who stopped a tank. Everyone remembers that.
Yeah, I know. He run over, killed?
No. In fact, he never got that close to the tank. He was forcibly removed by security.
So was that a Photoshop job? Do you think?
No, that's just a still from the video where he's standing in front of the tank. That's before the security grabbed him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
and then was he killed in jail then? Is that what happened?
He didn't die.
He didn't die.
No.
I don't know. Well, see, there you go. You got me on that one. I was convinced that he did die.
Yeah.
You know. That's I think that because other people died, right? And so I assumed that was what happened to him. That sort of outrage caused by that would be just too much for the Chinese to put up with. You know what I mean? Since they don't like
the only other famous example of the Mandela effect is the Curious George doesn't have a tail, but I don't remember him having a tail. In fact, I was very annoyed about that because I know about animals, and I was like, if they're saying he's a monkey, he's got to have a tail. Unless he's a gibbon. Gibbons don't have tails. But he wasn't a gibbon. He was clearly a monkey.
Right.
And the rest are just movie lines. People.
I think there's got to be a difference, hasn't there, between.
Was he not supposed to be like a chimpanzee then?
He was a monkey.
Right. So Curious George is some kind of a monkey, not a chimpanzee.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
I think what I was going to say was, guys, that doesn't there have to be a difference between something that is incorrectly passed on through generations, like
the Bible?
No, something that
something
that like Magic Mirror on the Wall. That's something that has been misremembered, but culturally and over generations. Whereas something that's more recent, like lots of people believing Mandela died in prison, that's something that has happened within most people's lifetimes. Most people, the death of Nelson Mandela was not particularly long ago. I mean, there was there was the Free Nelson Mandela song in the 1980s. Then Then he was released from prison. He and wasn't it de Klerk were awarded joint Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about Mandela.
And then they were. I mean, this is at least in our timeline. And then he became president of South Africa. Ran for one term, then retired. I've still got a copy of the newspaper article. I keep a scrapbook, and I've got some, and I've definitely got the article. Nelson Mandela walks away into retirement, probably from sometime in the late 90s, I would imagine. And then he died peacefully at his home, I think, surrounded by family, in sometime in the. I'm not sure when. It wasn't terrible. Within about 10 years ago. So I'm not sure exactly.
Right. I think it's funny that people don't remember that Nelson Mandela was the president of South Africa. And then the thing that I think is maybe the reason for that is because Winnie Mandela, then she became a leader, and she was having it away with somebody else when she was having an affair, and maybe that's why it sounded like Winnie and Nelson got a divorce, and then she never really talked about him much anymore. So he did sort of disappear into sort of obscurity in a weird way, because she was overshadowed by a lot of different changes. I don't know, but it does seem strange that people don't remember that.
Yeah, I've just looked it up on good old Wikipedia. He didn't die. I was out by chance. I was exactly right. 10 years ago, 5th of December, 2013.
Right.
So yeah, that's what happened. And it's really strange to me that there's a big wider cultural misremembering or lack of memory of it.
Well, I think what's funny is that he's put in the same classification as sort of a Martin Luther King Jr., who obviously was assassinated, and so it's that sort of misremembering of these folks, as because you always say that the fight for African American or African black folks, basically, it comes down to sort of Malcolm X being killed, um, Fred Hampton being killed, Martin Luther King Jr. being killed, Emmett Till being killed, and then they just say, as long as that, you're going to also remember sort of Nelson Mandela being, I think what was it called, like Robinette Prison or something like that, or what, Robin Island or something. I mean, it was a massively depressing place that was that he was in prison in, and then he got moved to other locations. But just everything bad that could happen to somebody in prison basically happened to him at the hands of the guards. So that's life in a nutshell. But I mean, you can go to like Robben Island prison and all those different things and just see how crap it was, but that's sort of the idea of when you are labeled a terrorist. You're what's weird about it, like in Northern Ireland, they have like the H block, and then they had like sort of the Republicans in one place and the loyalists in the other, and so it sort of foments into ideas about what's going to happen when you're going to get out. But again, that's the idea of if the state determines you're a terrorist, you're a terrorist. That's the way that goes. You know what I mean? I mean, that is the difference. What's the difference between, a freedom fighter and a terrorist? Opinion. I mean, that's just opinion. That's it. But basically, if you win, you're a freedom fighter. If you don't win, you're a terrorist. You can't tell me that Britain didn't think that George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and those guys were just basically terrorists, But they won, so they're freedom fighters.
Freedom. All right. So before we wrap things up for this week, Gabby will be very angry at me if I don't mention the fact that of the Sinbad movie, The Mandela Effect. I never really mentioned that when talking about the Mandela Effect because I don't remember there ever being a Sinbad movie. I've actually seen the Shaquille O'Neal Kazam movie, and let me tell you, if you'd seen that, you just can't get that shit out of your head, Gabby. You just can't.
That was like a 1960s movie that had who was it? Ray Harryhausen that did the stop motion effects and that. You should watch it. I can't remember who. I can't remember who was Sinbad now. It was a pretty famous actor at the time.
No, the rapper Sinbad, or the actor. He played a genie.
Oh, not Sinbad the movie.
People remember Sinbad the rapper or actor playing a genie, but it was actually Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh no! Sinbad was a comedian. He always wore like he won Star Search I think a couple of times against like Dennis Miller and people like that. But you guys wouldn't have seen Star Search there.
The important thing is people remember him being in a genie movie and he wasn't. It was Shaquille O'Neal. It's never affected me because I saw the Shaquille O'Neal movie, and like I said, you can't get that shit out of your head. Yeah. I've tried.
Sinbad was in Good Burger. If you ever know that, yeah, Good Burger.
That's a great movie. I love Good Burger.
Yeah, Good
But
Burger
that
isn't.
genie, I'd rather watch Space Jam, man. On repeat.
I've never seen Space Jam.
Oh, you lucky bastard. There's some things you just can't unsee.
Okay, let me ask you a question. What's the worst movie you've ever seen and had to rewatch?
The worst movie I've ever seen was Zombie Strippers.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. God, I can't remember what. The Toxic Avenger was mine.
That one is pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Wow, I can think of a couple. There's two of where there's the third in the series was absolutely abysmal. What for me, and I know many people will disagree, and many Johnny Depp fans will hate me for it, but Pirates of the Caribbean 3 was absolutely excruciatingly shit.
Was that the one at the World's End?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like.
It was agony. And if I'd have been on my own, I would have walked away. Another one that is third, RoboCop 3. Oh my word! I mean, to call it scraping the barrel is to do a disservice to barrels. I mean,
Yeah.
it is the.
I'm surprised I haven't done RoboCop versus Alien yet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what did you think of Predator 2 then? Tom, do you like
the second one? That was meh.
What, the old one?
Yeah, the Predator, and then Predator 2 came out with Maria Conchita Alonso, and
Yes, very good.
yeah.
The recent film, the recent Predator Prey.
Anyway.
Are you ending it? Are you cutting the cord on us?
I haven't. Oh,
yeah, my internet keeps dropping in and out.
I hadn't even finished I was taking too long to get to the point. The worst film I ever saw, I can't remember its title. It was a film that looked like it was about American football that Hannah and I rented from Blockbuster back when it was a thing. And when we put this film on, it soon became clear that it was not a normal film made for everyday audiences. It wasn't porn either. That's not where I'm going. No.
Oh.
It was an ultra Christian film made by a Christian film company by Christians for Christians. It was about how God wanted a football team to win, and also made the impotent coach, his wife, get pregnant. It was Christian propaganda. And we took it back and we explained all this, and they actually gave us our money back. Blockbuster never do that based on the film being shit. But because I managed to convince them that it literally had no place in mainstream film,
right,
they gave us their refund.
Well, I can tell you, as a Bolton Wanderers supporter, I will say that I have prayed to God to have us win sometimes, but that
anyway,
that has fallen on deaf ears.
It was. I can't remember its title, but it was special. Oh my word!
That'll wrap us up for this week. We will return next week, despite the hopes of many, where we will be discussing favorite YouTube videos. It's good night from me, and it's good night from them.
Cheerio.
Good night, everybody.
Cheerio.